Good morning, YouTube. How are you guys? Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is peaceful. Some days I do not know if I'm gonna have the strength to come up here. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Coming up here is not for the weak at all. Um, it's not for the weak, I tell you that. I used to watch other people come on here and I used to literally pray for people that came on here to talk to other people. I used to just be like, Lord, give them a break because this is tough. This is hard work. And sometimes we get in trouble for what we say here. And it may be well meaning, but one thing you start realizing coming on here is you're not here just for yourself. Whatever you're going through, God sees it, God knows your fight, and you're important too. But I have been reprimanded at times, like it's not about you, it's not just you, there's other people as well. And one thing that has come to me is everything that we're going through, that God is not, that the whole point of all of this is not just for only us. We're here to save other people, to save other souls, to bring people into the light. And you know, it's not who you think, because when I first came here I thought I would be speaking to victims, and then you know the situation shows you differently what's going on behind the veil. It has been tiring. I have fought. I have had to relent. I have had to just release things. And as I sit here right now, I'm so tired. I release it. It is what it is. It's in God's hands now, and that's how I see it. Um, every time I have tried to do something well-meaning, or I've tried to have good intentions, it hasn't worked out. So I just leave it be. I leave it to God to figure out how to solve the rest of this. 'Cause this is too big. But I was told from before that it's out of my hands, it's not my fight, and to just let God handle it and just, you know, relax. And that's not easy when you are stressed out, when you see what's going on, when you're panicked, when you're worrying all the time, when you're wondering how much longer, when you're having to have patience and having to have faith. So when I come here and I tell people, like, when you pray, leave it up to God, and people still panic, I cannot judge you. I did that so many times, countless times. So today I have to leave it to God. I am not trying to fix anything. Let God do what God has to do. I do what God tells me to do, and that is it. Because even the things that God tells me to do are tough. They're tough. So, you know, you don't know where your life is going to take you when you start any journey in life. You might think you're just starting a journey of opening up a business, and you don't know how this thing's going to take you. I kid you not. Today I got reminded of something. It was, there was some post, and then I responded that I remember when I was 9 months into my first job. I was ready to get employed, and I wanted to get a salary job. And I got a job, and I was so excited about, like, you know, when it's like, for example, you get a new job and it's your dream job, you're excited about the things like your name on the door and the business card and whatever, because that's what you respect. When you go to someone's office, you see their name on the door, their family pictures on the desk and all that, you're like, oh my God, this person has accomplished something. So that's what I wanted. And when I got my first job, I was at a cubicle, but I remember 9 months in, one day, one morning, I was putting my shoes on to rush out the door, and I sat back and I was like, I haven't had a break or a vacation since I started. I've just been working nonstop. And I was like, I need a break. I'm like, I can't do this. Because I remember at the time, it was either a dentist or a doctor's office at an appointment I had to go to, and it was like I had to beg my manager. I had to like practically make excuses to go for an appointment. I'm like, I can't do this. So 9 months into that job, I was like, I need an exit strategy from working like this. I cannot keep working like this every single day, because I'm calculating vacation time for the year, 365 days, and I get 14 days off. I was like, I can't live like this. And that was on my path to do. And ever since I did that and I got into the business world, it has just been, it's been something else. And I'm realizing that was my path to enlightenment. That was my path to realizing myself. That was my path to coming into relationship with God. And even though it was, I mean, there'll be times, well, to be honest, I didn't. There was never really a time I was like, I regret going into business. I regret doing this. I regret doing that. There wasn't really a time, but you know, for somebody else, you might be tempted to say, I regret doing this. I regret starting this journey. I regret whatever. Don't regret. Because when it finally comes full circle and you see what it's about, and you really, when you meet God and you realize that this is real, all of this is real, it's worth it to you. As much as gang stalking has been such a nightmare, such a chore, such an ordeal, so trying, so tiring, as much as it's been all of those things, I got to meet God. I got to speak to, I got to see the other side, and I get to kind of exist on both sides. And I know that people here, you know, I got introduced to the spiritual side through things like tarot, astrology, spiritual battles, witches, all of this. They already know what we don't know yet. When you're Christian or highly religious, you just don't know yet that there's another side that exists. You don't know yet that there's another world. Like, you know, it's not that what you're saying is wrong, but what you're saying is not complete. You don't know the full story. So that is really what we are here for, is to experience life, yes, in the physical sense on the 3D, but also to know that there is a spiritual side to life as well, and that we can have both of those experiences simultaneously. So today's Bible verse is 1 Chronicles chapter 11, verses 1 to 14. It said, Then all Israel gathered themselves to David unto Hebron, saying, Behold, we are thy blood and thy flesh. And moreover, in time past, even when Saul was king, thou wast he that leddest out and broughtest out in Israel. And the Lord thy God said unto thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be ruler over my people Israel. Therefore came all the elders of Israel to the king of Hebron, and David made a covenant with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel, according to the word of the Lord by Samuel. And David and all Israel went to Jerusalem, which is Jebus, where the Jebusites were. It's spelled not Jew as in Jew, but Jebusites, where the Jebusites were, the inhabitants of the land. And the inhabitants of Jebus said to David, Thou shalt not come hither. Nevertheless, David took the castle of Zion, which is the city of David. And David said, Whosoever smiteth the Jebusites first shall be chief and captain. So Joab, the son of Jeruah, went first up and was chief. And David dwelt in the castle, therefore they called it the city of David. And he built the city round about, even after Milo round about, and Joab repaired the rest of the city. So David waxed greater and greater, for the Lord of hosts was with him. These also are the chief of the mighty men who David had, who strengthened themselves with him in his city, in his kingdom, and with all Israel, to make him king, according to the word of the Lord concerning Israel. And this is the number of the mighty men whom David had: Jashobim, a Hashmonite, the chief of the captains. He lifted up his spear against 300 slain by him at one time. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahoite, who was one of the three mighties. He was with David at Pas Demim, and there the Philistines were gathered together to battle, where was a parcel of ground full of barley, and the people fled from before the Philistines. And they set themselves in the midst of that parcel and delivered it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord saved them by a great deliverance. There's been a song that's been in my head this entire time, not just today, so I wanna read it, the lyrics of it. So I have read the lyrics of this song before, and I have to read it again. It's When You Believe by Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, and it's been playing in my head over and over for days. And it says, many nights we prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts, a hope for a song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe, though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe? Somehow you will. You will when you believe. In this time of fear, when prayer so often proves in vain, hope seems like the summer bird, too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here, my heart so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe, though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe? Somehow you will when you believe. They don't often happen when you ask, and it's easy to give in to your fears. But when you're blinded by your pain, can't see the way, get through the rain, a small but still resilient voice says, help is very near. There can be miracles when you believe, though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe? Somehow you will. Now you will when you believe. I didn't even know the lyrics of the verse, but they are so accurate. These are the most accurate lyrics for this situation that I have ever heard in my life. This is not a situation for the weak, and this is not a situation for people who give up hope easily. You're not always going to, you're gonna not feel your best more than you do feel your best. That's the honest truth. You really won't. You're gonna be exhausted. This is going to exhaust you. And I think that I can't imagine right now, just from where I'm sitting, I cannot imagine another fight as difficult as gang stalking. Just from where I'm sitting. I'm telling you, when you fight other fights, it's a fight. It's one fight. You win that fight, you're through. You have bad health, you win that fight, you're through. You have financial issues, you win that fight, you're through. When you're going through gang stalking or spiritual battles, believe me, you are facing 1,000 battles. You're always putting out a fire. You always have an issue. Something is always scary. Something is always going on. It is painful. It takes over your entire world, no matter who you are. And just from where I'm sitting, we're always gonna think we have the toughest battles based on what we've gone through, but I'm telling you, I know there are bigger battles than this. I know, but from where I'm sitting right now, this is the toughest thing I've ever faced in my life. If God was not here, I said this just today, I said I could not have gotten through this a million billion years without you. There is no way. I'm talking just the encouragement part. Just the encouragement part was necessary. Just the faith and the hope to hear, you're gonna get through this. Keep going, it's close. And I'll be bickering and I'm like, you said that last time, it was close. I've come to a point where I understand spiritual time is not real time. If something is done in real time, it's done right now, instantly. But when something is done spiritually, it may not be done for 3 to 6 months. You don't know. So I remember when God gave me indication like the soul tie is done, it's cut. I could still feel the effects of that for months after. So maybe, I think it was about September, October of last year, my mind said, if you don't get rid of anything that involves this money, they're gonna have a hold on you. You have to get rid of it. And I said, I gotta get rid of my car, I gotta get rid of my house, because I've been paying those payments with money made in this way, or money made from people making it in this way. And they're coming into my business on purpose and patronizing my business on purpose, and they're controlling my life through that money. And I got rid of the car fairly easily, but the house I had to wait for the sale and I had to wait for the closing date. And I remember being in a panic because it was like I couldn't enjoy Christmas the way I wanted to, because I'm like, I just want this done. I want it done, I want it done, I want it done, I want it done. I didn't care how, I didn't care about anything. I just wanted it off my plate. I wanted to be out of there. And I felt a relief after that happened, after I made that release. And so it took months later for me to feel like the last chord of connection. So I want to say maybe, I can't fully remember, maybe it was incremental, little by little, the hold was released off of my life, little by little. And I want to say by maybe April, May, June, I really started feeling it. I'm talking about feeling on my body that those energetic cords were gone. So it took me a while. It took a while for me to be released from this. But this was the biggest of all the battles to me, because even if I hadn't and I haven't completely been rid of this situation, and this thing has more battles all the time showing up, knowing that the energetic cords attached to me were gone, I felt it. And you know, they celebrated that more than I did, and I pleaded for that, I prayed for that, I prayed for that every day. I was like, please, just if you could at least take this off, I'll be grateful. And they took it off, and I have been grateful that these energetic cords have been gone. And I could tell you, if you have any sort of spiritual attachments that are difficult to rid yourself of, the day you get rid of it, you don't care. You don't care what other battles you have. That has been your biggest battle. You will get on your knees, you will pray, you will thank God, you will worship, because you will know that that one was when you could not do yourself. So when God comes into your life at these difficult moments, it's for the battles you cannot do yourself. You cannot release some of these battles yourself. You cannot get out of this yourself. This is a spiritual thing, and you have to trust and obey and have faith. And when I was going through my war, I'm still going through my war, I'm not gonna lie to you, but the toughest part of the battle, the toughest parts, I just remember needing to hear people like me come on here and talk every day. I was hungry for the messages every day. I needed the encouragement. Without the encouragement, you're gonna screw up. You need someone to hold your hand and say, it's gonna be okay. You need God to hold your hand and hold your face in his or her hands and say, you're gonna be fine. You are panicking. Sit still and know that I am God and I am here, and there is nothing bigger than me. There's nothing greater than me. There's no problem that I cannot fix. You're on the right track. It has to play out like this for your highest good, for what you deserve. And I'm like, what? How can anything good come from this situation? The situation is so scary. How can there be any good? And God doesn't tell us. You know, God is like any other parent. When you're sick, they take the medication and they put it in the juice box, and you don't see that the back of it is open and it's medication in there. And they say, have some juice, and you're drinking it. You're like, this tastes funny. And they're like, no, this is good. This is juice. You're like, no, it's not. They know what's best for you. Sometimes the things that we want are not what is good for us. And we don't see it because we don't see our path. We don't see our future. Sometimes I realize in this, listen, I was walking the other day and I said to myself, I realize all the tough questions I've ever had of God. Now it's being answered. I have the answers, and it's so crazy. It all makes sense. Sometimes God doesn't even tell you what your future is because you wouldn't believe it. God doesn't bother even telling you who you're going to be, because from the place you're in right now, you wouldn't believe it. It takes you a while to realize who you are, to believe who you are. It takes a long time. When I was first hearing about, well, who you are in the spirit, who you actually are, it took a lot of repetition for me to believe. I thought it was craziness, and at some points I was like, I don't even want to listen to these crazy people anymore. Why am I listening to this craziness on the internet? But I trusted, I had hope, I believed that these people have no reason to come on here and just say this kind of stuff for no reason. I used to think, like, who makes this up? Like, where do they make up these stories? And then it started happening to me. I started living it, and I'm like, holy crap. And then you start seeing it, and the thoughts start coming to you yourself. I remember yesterday I thought to myself, people probably think I'm crazy. Who has time to come on this internet and force themselves to make time out of their day to come up and make these crazy stories about spirits and, you know, deities and gods and all of this? And if there weren't more YouTube pages where people were talking about this stuff, I would definitely not have the balls to do it. I would be very nervous. I think people would think I lost my mind. When you open up to new things spiritually and you start understanding new things, you start realizing that it's, you know, yes, there is a spirit world, people do spell work and all of that, but I'm talking about when you realize that the Bible is absolutely not wrong, that there is a highest God and they can do absolutely everything. And you start really having hope and trust in the process. It's exactly like those song lyrics say, like, you have no evidence that this is gonna work out. I have had no evidence for a long time. I've just had faith. I've had no proof. I've prayed for things and God's like, it's done. And I'm like, God, I gotta see a sign. You gotta give me something here. I'm grasping at air. If I could grasp at straws, I would be at least holding something. It's been just faith, blind faith. But I also realized that's how any magic works, is blind faith. All magic is not having... Magic works by not looking at your circumstances. It works by creating your circumstances, and that's what makes you a master manifester. Someone who can create out of absolutely nothing but energy and pure thoughts and intentions. And I used to manifest very wobbly years ago. I was still creating, I was still achieving, but it was wobbly. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't work. Sometimes it would come a little bit into fruition and then it would vanish because I would disbelieve. I would work against it. I would doubt it when it came. I wouldn't do my part. I wouldn't follow through with things. It's like I would release things and then I would see other people with the opportunities. I'm like, oh my God, if I had just followed through. And these are some of these things I still have regrets to today. Like, there are still things that I feel like in my soul I should have done, and I'm looking at other people, they're still prospering with that thing at the same time I should have been doing it. So, you know, you're not gonna I mean, trust me, it still cuts. It still cuts, like big opportunities. So I've learned to trust through loss. Through loss. So I say all of this to say the message for today. I've endured a fight. Anybody who's gone through gang stalking and who's fought back and who's stood up for themselves and who's refused to give up their life, you have endured a fight. People on both sides of the fight endure the fight. It's a fight on both sides. It's a battlefield. Like any war, both sides are fighting. And God may use a small number of people or one person, just myself. I've really felt like it was just me and God in my corner. Me and God and all the people that God put in place to give me messages, whether it was tarot readers, whether it was channelers, whether it's like little random pages that are not about spirituality. It could be a page about motivation. It could be an astrology page that helps me learn about something about myself or someone else. But it's really just been me on a solo journey on this battle. And God has used me, and I recognize that's God's way, because God doesn't like excuses when God wins a fight. God doesn't like when people can say, oh, but you had help. Oh, but this person came through. Oh, but that person did it. It's you by yourself standing in the fire and you're shaking. You're terrified. If I tell you there weren't days where I'm laying there and I'm just thinking, I don't know how you're going to move this mountain, because this one does not look movable. It's just me. I'm one person. So many days I'm sitting there and I'm like, these people hate me, and you put me in a position to talk to people who hate. I just said that yesterday. Yesterday I was just like, I feel like this is a Christ walk. I'm talking to, to people who want to crucify me. And my wits end with it. Please send help. You just never know the day that God's gonna come through, and we just hold on hope and faith and expel fear, expel doubt, let it go. I've had to just release. Sometimes I gotta turn my back on it and go work on something else, do something else. There's days I gotta go for a walk instead of facing, looking at something, trying to calculate something. I have no idea how I'm gonna get done. Right before either side gets defeated, God might stop the game and show us that we're in a simulation. And God showed me that a number of times. This is a simulation. You come to life, you come live, and it's a simulation. It's not as real as you think. I said just the other day, I said, when you meet your spirit guides, you feel like you've met an avatar who's basically controlling itself through you, kind of like in a video game or in Sims. In the video game, there's somebody sitting there actually playing the video game, and you're the character inside of the video game being controlled on what to do. And that's what God showed me here, is that we come here, we get a vessel, but it's our spirit guide that's running the avatar. And not all of us get to see that. And that's what the Matrix is about. The Matrix is about basically where they pull out of the game and they're able to see that the computers have taken over the game and are controlling the avatars and using them for energy. And they're basically fighting for their freedom. And that's the part that we're in. We're in the Matrix. We're just in the Matrix. You'll find out your life was a simulation. Gang stalking will make you doubt if you ever had real friends, if any of it was ever real. I know I doubt it. I have questioned it, like, is it real? Are people like, but I know now that The customers weren't real, not all of them anyway. Some were, not all of them. And definitely friendships that I had, I realized that they were orchestrated around me. Maybe they weren't actual friends, maybe they were acquaintances, but they were put in place around me. And you know, then you just realize, like I said, like you're literally in a simulation. You think it's reality, but it's not. And that goes for every one of us. All of us think that the life we're living is what we think it is, and it's not. um in the Where are we? When you meet God, you meet the true controller of your avatar. You step outside of the game for a bit. You get to meet your spirit guides. You get to meet the people on the other side that are looking in, watching us play. They're watching us on the big screen. I remember I said, when you go through gang stalking in your ascension, it's like all of your ancestors are there in a stadium, kind of like Hunger Games, and they're just watching you. They're watching how you perform. And I really feel like that more and more. There's been so many things that I've said metaphorically, and I realize why I say them after I say them. In the time I'm saying it, I'm like, why am I saying this? But it's the truth. So when you meet your spirit guide, you're meeting the person that is controlling his or herself through your avatar. So your spirit is in this vessel. You're inhabiting this vessel. And your spirit guide is guiding it, controlling it from the other side. So you find out who you really are in the spirit. And sometimes you're someone impressive. Sometimes you're a very important person. And you literally just came here to do a job, to be on a mission, to walk a life path, to do something very important. And everything is on path, and you just got to walk the path, and you got to listen. If God says they need you here, then they need you here. Just release control. I release control. I'll tell you that much. If you can push yourself to see it this way, then you can open yourself fully to this experience of life. God does not mean to hinder us from experiencing life, but only to protect us from the dangers of the game, or in the Matrix, what looks like the Agent Smiths. God does not care about the things we think God cares about as much. God loves you just the way you are. And the things that our avatars do down here, they also do up there. I've realized when I read, I've learned more about like mythology, all kinds of mythology and religion, and I've always had an interest in history, world history, that whenever I read or I learn about gods and deities and whatever, there was just as much drama going on there as here. In fact, possibly more. So their spirits and their energies are just coming here, playing out the same nonsense that they do over there. There's still the fighting, there's still the wars, there's still the animosities, there's all of it. All of it is there. We come, we get avatars here, and we do the same things that we used to do over there. And then you realize that, you know, godlike energies, they have feelings, they have hopes, they have agendas, they have concerns, they have things that they want. It's the same thing. So we come here, and sometimes we enact the same wars that we would in the spirit. And that's exactly how it is. When you have an enemy in the spirit, it becomes your enemy in the 3D. What chases you in the spirit chases you in real life. This is not real life. Real life's up there. The real life is up here. We are in a game here. So that's why you'll notice that there's a spiritual battle, and you have to defeat it in the spirit before you can defeat it here. And God is not judgmental of what we go through. God is not one to judge us for what we go through, because the gods go through the same thing. They do the same things. It's the same thing. God's just here to protect us and loves us regardless of what we do. God already forgives you. God is already understanding of your circumstances. They see God does not shun people who make certain decisions. And even if you're under God's judgment, you always have another opportunity to go to God and say, look, I made a mistake. I made a wrong turn. I don't want to do this anymore. At any point, you can end a conflict, because God's not one to hold grudges. God's not like us. God doesn't hold grudges. In fact, God tells us enough. Enough. I've been reprimanded a number of times, like, enough fighting, enough nonsense. It's time. We're done. We're done with it. And I know enough not to, push it too far. Sometimes you can't help yourself. You want to get like that last word in. You want to get that last like punch in, that last this, that last that. But when God says stop, you got to stop. And right now, for me, God doesn't have to say stop, because I am exhausted of it. I am so tired. I want to take a nap. Like, not even physically. I'm talking in the spirit. In the spirit, I'm through. I'm spent with it. Because I just know if we keep going, we're going to be here next year. We're going to be here the year after. It's going to just keep going if God allows it to continue to keep going. So, at some point, you're just like, look, whatever. None of us can control the behavior of the other. There are people here who've wanted to control my behavior and couldn't. And then when God gave instructions, I wanted to control their behavior and I couldn't and I can't. And so everybody's responsible for their own decisions, and we gotta just release it and let God take care of it now, because all of us here are stubborn. All of us here don't listen. All of us here want to take actions into our own hands. All of us here, we relapse. I can't look at other people and not look at myself in that. I have relapsed a lot. Take 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. Finally get up on your knees, fall again. Finally almost get on your feet, fall again, because the circumstances here are very difficult. They're tragic, they're trying. It's too much. So this is how it goes. The Matrix didn't lie. Perhaps it didn't depict what we're going through in the way that the Bible does, but the truth is that we suffer in the spirit first, what we call the spirit or the real world, and then the suffering comes down here, because most people over there have an avatar over here, and I call them people because they are people too. So when you get your message, when it's your turn, follow the white rabbit. And just, some people call it answering the call. I call it following the white rabbit. Just follow the energy that comes to lead you down the path that you're supposed to be. That is where your destiny is. That is where your highest calling is. That is where your hope is. That is where it comes to you. The answers. And you see the truth. And I think most of us are more important than we think in the spirit. I don't think it's just a minority of us. I think once you open up to spirit, you start valuing yourself more, because you see yourself as more. And it doesn't matter if who you are. It's like, I'm not trying to make it something that is a comparison of one person to another, but I just know that we are not who we all think we are in the spirit. We are much more. So that is my message for today. Maybe I'll do a spirit messages card. It has been exhausting. It's been one exhausting situation after the other. So this is the card I got. It says, if you're noticing changes within yourself, it's because you're leaving the old version of yourself behind. You are elevating and shedding unnecessary layers. Old cycles are ending and new beginnings are on the horizon. You deserve this new chapter. We have all been fighting for our lives. If you've been gang stalked, I'm talking just to people going through spiritual battles and gang stalking. And believe me, gang stalking is the ultimate spiritual battle. But I think if you can handle it the right way, not just lay down and take it, but if you can push yourself to, what's the word I want to say? If you can push yourself to stay in your fight, if you can push yourself to do the work, you're going to find that you come out on the other side a better version of yourself, a higher version of yourself, a smarter version of yourself, a more self-aware version of yourself, a more mature version of yourself. Like on my journey, I learned forgiveness. I thought I knew what forgiveness was. I thought forgiveness was just ignoring someone forever, but still being mad and kind of low-key holding the grudge. And gang stalking has taught me forgiveness for literally everybody who's ever hurt me. Not holding a grudge, not having malice. I never thought I could be capable of that. I never thought I could. I have a Capricorn moon. We Capricorn placements hold grudges as if they're trophies. Like we hold a grudge forever. And I've learned forgiveness. I've learned to understand other people. I've learned to humble myself because I am not perfect. I used to think I was perfect. I am not. And I've learned to release control, and to just know when to stop. I've said that of other people, know when to stop, and I've had to learn when to stop. It hasn't been easy. I've learned how to, you know, it's not something that I've never not had, but I've learned really the true value of making tough decisions and when to have integrity and to do things from a space of integrity even when it's extremely difficult, and maybe taking advantage of a situation or advantage of someone would have been easier, but to endure the harder part, which is to have some integrity and, you know, treat people like I would want to be treated, give mercy to people and give compassion and try to understand things from other people's perspective. It's been tough. Very, very, very hard lessons, because these lessons here, the entities that we're dealing with are the entity is an entity of your lower nature. It takes advantage of your lower nature. It takes advantage of, it lies to you. It creates animosity between people. It creates chaos. It doesn't want to let go. It creates trouble. And it's just like Lord of the Flies, because it is Lord of the Flies. It creates chaos and conflict amongst men until it destroys everything. And it takes away your innocence. And it makes you into a version of yourself that you shouldn't be. Whether justified or not, we have to see past the illusions. So this is my message of the day, folks. I hope we have a good end to the summer, because it has not been a normal summer at all. I don't know how I'm going to look back on the summers of 2023, 2024, and even 2022. It has just been a nightmare. So thank you guys. And I hope my messages help someone. I hope my messages are comforting to someone. Have an amazing day, and remember, God loves you.